Rob, what's up, sir? How are you?
What's up, buddy? Always good to see you, sir.
You too, man. You too. Or most people call you 1031 Rob.
And 31 Rob, that's the common name for me today. Most people don't know my last name, and I prefer it that
How, how do you pronounce your last name?
way. Pesha.
Pesha. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually Czech. People always think I'm Italian because I look like this. My name ends in a vowel. I used to live in Staten Island, but I'm actually of Czech descent.
Okay. My wife was of Czech descent as well.
Really?
Her last name was Smega. It's a very, very
Okay.
Czech name. So, um, anyways, well, dude, I appreciate this time together. This is just a member spotlight of the Military Investor Network. You've been a part of the community since really the kind of the beginning. You joined pretty early on, and just a ton like have brought a ton of value to the community and the network. And just, I mean, you're a smart dude, and you have lots of thoughts and advice and recommendations and comments, and you offer a ton of value. So, want to just kind of highlight who you are and what you do. And so, let's just start with just a little bit of background about who you are.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It's a pleasure to be part of the network. I appreciate you including me and always trying to lend value, wherever possible. So anything I can do to better the network and help our fellow veterans out, I'm all for it.
Yeah, man. So besides being from New York City and Czech background, give us a little bit more.
Yeah, so currently I live in New Jersey. I live in Mountain Lakes, New Jersey with my wife Janine and my two daughters, Madison, who will be 7 later this month, and Emmeline, who's 5. And we have a dog in the mix too, Roxy, a Labradoodle, also
Nice.
a female. So I'm outnumbered officially.
Yeah, you are.
And let's see what else. Yeah, so obviously I have a military background, U.S. Air Force. I had my sights on becoming an F-117 fighter pilot, and that was going great until it wasn't because of medical reasons. So my eyesight went south. Late 90s, you couldn't get corrective surgery. It didn't matter if you wanted to fly planes or wash them. That was off the table because it would disqualify you from the Air Force. So my choices were pick something else or surgery evolves. And I said, you know what, maybe this is God trying to tell me it's not meant to be. So as devastating as that was, because I didn't have a plan B, um, I was open to other opportunities. I speak a few languages, among them Czech, right? That I grew up with. So I said, you know what, I will figure it out. And I was open to opportunities. And you fast forward to today, I run my own business. So I'm a solopreneur specializing in these 1031 transactions that I work with. And I really found it by chance. It wasn't by design. I was just kind of open to opportunities. So you fast forward to today, I'm not saving the planet by bombing the enemy like I swore I would. I'm helping domestically in a different way. I'd like to think it's safer. It's not always safer, but I'd like to think that. But yeah, today I'm 1031 Rob, and as you said, everybody calls me that. Reason being is I specialize in these real estate transactions around the 1031 tax code. So that's me. I call myself your 1031 exchange quarterback. That's my trademark tagline. I have the lockdown. And that's because I basically do all the hand holding. I make sure people understand like what the heck a 1031 is, why you want to do one, and who parties are that you need at the table, because it is very much a symphony. If you want to execute it successfully and get the most out of it, you need everybody at that table to play their role very well. You need top shelf professionals all around. And I align with them. I don't replace any of them. I basically just pull up a chair and infuse confidence by leveraging this modular basket of 1031 products that I have.
I love that, man. And I'm just thinking kind of through back through my days, and I was set on being a pilot as well, right? I watched Top Gun, thought it was the coolest ever, and wanted to be the Maverick, the cool pilot. And like
I
if
had
I
the
would have,
motorcycle too, so I was like right in line with that.
dude, yeah. And if I would have been told that I can't go be a pilot and you need to go do something else, like I don't know what I would have done. I have no idea what I would have done. And I'm just trying to think about like putting myself in your shoes. I'm just curious, like how was that transition? How was that transition out when you're so focused on being a pilot and then like being told, no, you can't, like you got to go do something else.
Yeah, it was pretty devastating. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I cried about it. It's like I was so laser focused on just that. I mean, coming out of high school, I only applied to one school, the United States Air Force Academy. My guidance counselor said, you're nuts. Pick a backup school at least, please. Pick a backup school. They're hard to get into. And I said, no, this is all I want to do. And he's like, well, what if you don't get in? I said, well, I'll try again. He said, that's nuts. And I said, well, I guess I'm nuts. So I was just like so laser focused on that. I had no plan B. It was really driven by the fact that, I mentioned the Czech background. So my parents were both immigrants from what was Czechoslovakia. You can't say that anymore without sounding foolish. Now it's obviously Slovak Republic and Czech Republic. I say Czech because I have most of my family's on that side. So
Yeah.
I am of Czech and Slovak background, formerly Czechoslovak. But my parents came here as immigrants in 1968. They basically came with nothing. And I felt compelled to give something back to the nation that was there for my parents, a long time ago. And I said, well, this would be a perfect way to do it. I was really enamored by it. I said at the same time, it'll be fun, I think, to be a fighter pilot. I thought it was exciting. I mean, you get that, I'm sure, Stu.
Yeah.
And I thought that was for me. I thought that was perfectly designed for me. Like that was the path I should be on. And again, as devastating as it was back then, because I had no plan B and I was crushed when I found out. Looking at it now, everything worked out for the better because I would be who knows where I'd be, who knows if I'd still be around, but I certainly wouldn't have the family I have now, my kids and my wife, running my own business. It would be completely different. And it's
Yep.
anybody's guess what it looked like, but for some reason, it all kind of worked itself out. So as painful as that was at the time, it all kind of worked out, and it wasn't for nothing. Stu, like I was able to support very good things from that military experience, things that you can't buy because look, you can buy goods and services, you can go to school and pay for a degree, but the discipline and the honor code that we live by, you can't buy that. That's you can't replicate that by signing up for a service somewhere. So that's something that I think gives us an edge, particularly for me as a solopreneur, as a business owner, when you got to be your own accounts payable, marketing, cheerleading, everything, right? And that takes a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of discipline. You have to have the regimen to do that, to do it effectively.
Dude, 100%, man. I agree. So just curious, like leaving the Air Force, what was your first endeavor? Like, what did you go into right after getting out?
Right after getting out, I spent a little bit of time in premium finance.
Okay.
Again, why premium finance? It just found me. I was open to opportunities. So I said, I'll try my hand at a couple things and I will figure it out. So
Yeah.
I started there. That lasted for a couple years. And then I spent a little bit of time in the energy sector. Again, just by chance, it found me. I wasn't in love with it. There was no design. It was just kind of like, I'll go with the flow, right? So I spent a little time in the energy sector. I worked for Con Ed here in New York City in marketing and sales. Then I spent a little bit of time working for an energy consulting firm as a director of sales. So I tried my hand at that for a while. And then 2008, I came across financial services. Great year to start financial services, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I had a buddy who was doing really well. He worked on a great team, and everybody on his team was knocking it out of the park. And he said, you'd be really good at this. You're in sales. You're good with people. Like, try this. And at first, I was like, no, I don't want to take a Series 7 exam and 66 and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm just not about that. But then I opened up to it. I said, you know what? Why not? I was never in love with energy. My one true love was becoming an aviator, and I didn't have that. So I was open to anything, really. So I said, all right, let me try financial services. So 2008 is when I started that. And then I tried what I call, the Baskin Robbins flavors of being a financial advisor. Like the life insurance and the annuities and the long-term care, college planning and pension max, and you name it. I've tried all these different disciplines, and each one lasted about a year and a half. And then people kind of got used to the fact, like, Rob's going to shift gears and try something else. Because I never really loved any of it, right? Certainly see the value in it, and I own most of that stuff I used to talk about, but I just didn't like being the guy selling, right? Then finally in 2012, I came across this specialty that I'm in now. I realized it's very underserved, so there aren't too many of us doing it, which is a nice differentiator. And I said, you know what, this is kind of cool. Like, life insurance sales are hard, annuity sales are hard. I used to bang on police precincts and firehouses, talking to these guys about how to max out their pensions. It's a life sale, right? That's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I cut my teeth and how I started in financial services. And then coming into this space, this 1031, I'm like, this is really clever. Like, everybody wants to save money on taxes. So everybody likes the concept of a 1031, defer your capital gains tax. And this is basically giving them more options that they never knew they had, no matter how good that advisory board is that they started with. And that's why I said I pull up a chair and I infuse confidence, because I give them more options. So I said I could really run with this. And that's what I've been doing since 2012. And I had a few affiliations, I was partnered with some folks that I kind of learned the ropes and got comfortable with it. Fast forward to 2018, that's when my daughter Madison was born, my first daughter. And a week later, I turned 40, and I just remember feeling different. I'm like, why am I building something for somebody else? Giving away
Mm.
the lion's share of my efforts. I'm the one running around pounding the pavement, doing all the work. Why am I giving away the lion's share of my efforts to grow somebody else's wealth? I should be doing this
Yeah.
for my girls. And that's at the same time I created this nickname for myself, 1031 Rob. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to bet everything on that. I'm gonna run with it. I like this. People are not going to see me change after a year and a half, 2 years, as they kind of got used to me doing. And I just, as I said, I really like the uniqueness of the space and that it's empowering to people. And I align myself with a team. And it's really not like, it's really a consultative role. It doesn't feel so much like a salesman. You're not there to sell them. You're just there to educate them. And oftentimes putting to bed these myths around the 1031, right? There's a lot of misconceptions around it. So it's really doing the hand holding, making sure they have the right partners at the table to execute that successfully. And then just like, hey, this is what I bring to the table. I have this basket of problems, basket of products that solves a couple of problems.
Yeah.
And I'm the first to say it's not for everybody, but if you check a couple boxes, it starts to become worth the conversation, and it will lend certainty to the transaction.
I love that, man. It's really cool to kind of see, someone's journey, your own journey, where, you know, God has a bigger plan, right, for all of us. And like he'll open doors for you and he'll close doors. And as long as we're like open to actually walking through those doors, right, and not trying to force doors open, good things will happen. And then if that all aligns with like who you are as an individual and how he made you to be, man, it just like that's where the sweet spot is. And it's cool that
100%. But I think it's easier on the look back, right? When you look back,
for
you
sure.
kind of look at the whole picture. You're like, oh, this makes perfect sense. But in the moment,
Yeah,
no, it was
it's tough.
devastating. It was like I didn't want to hear anything else. I didn't want to entertain anything else. But at the same time, you have to move forward, right? What are you going to do? Just give up, fold your cards, and just what are you going to do? You have to
Yeah,
move on. So I
yeah,
said, you know what? I'll leverage my experience and my resources, and I have some abilities and some talents, and I will figure it out. So
yeah. Well, you
fast
mentioned
forward.
discipline, kind of getting that from your military days at Air Force Academy. Like, what else did you, learn from military days that you've found to be like really useful in the world you're in now?
I think just everything that really lends itself to from that lifestyle, right? Just everything from being punctual, like I'm routinely early. I'm usually not late.
Yeah,
Just things that translate well into business, common courtesies that people like and respect. And look, I just said I'm in a very underserved space. Like here in New York, I think there's like 5 or 6 of us that do what I do. There aren't too many. I know who my competitors are. I've been chained to a couple of them in the past, as I kind of learned the ropes and I started doing it. But I think a big differentiator in a space that's already very underserved is I leverage that military precision. I like to bring that to the table and say what you're going to get with me is a very quality centric approach, not only with products, these 1031 products, but also people like that advisory board I was talking about. If you need a referral for any one of those seats, and again, I play a very specific role, I'm going to make sure they're best in class because you need to get the job done. You need to get the most out of that 1031 as possible. So I think just that discipline and being like laser focused in one space and being a specialist in the space and also being very punctual and reliable, that sets you apart from the pack, I think, tremendously. And I certainly leverage that military background because as compared to my competition, as far as I know, I'm the only one that's ex-military and just does this. I have
yeah.
competitors that maybe have a military background, but also do a bunch of other things. And I just do.
It's amazing what happens when you just do what you say you're gonna do. That
Yeah, I mean,
that
somebody
alone is a
said stay in
differentiator.
your lane, like when I kind of went through the progression of 2008 joining financial services. So I mentioned I had a few affiliations, right? I did a lot of stuff. I did a lot of other disciplines in the financial arena, and some of these affiliations that I had, some of these partnerships, they encouraged me to do the other stuff simultaneously. Make the life insurance sales. 1031s can be like a bonus, but still sell the annuities too and talk about this and talk about that. I find when I straddle too many disciplines, I don't do any one particularly well. So that's why I
Mm,
stayed laser focused on the 1031 stuff. I have access to other great things, as you know, as an alternative broker. Some very powerful tools out there, but from a marketing standpoint, from things I talk about and things I advocate, it's 1031 all day. And that's deliberately because I don't want to deaden my friends.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, you've been in this investment world for a long time. You're part of the Military Investor Network. You've seen a lot of investments you've been a part of. You've done investments. So just curious, what is the best investment you've ever made?
The best investment I've ever made has to be the investment in myself
Mm.
and betting everything on that 1031 Rob brand, which, by the way, that came out of laziness. I created that at a networking event where I didn't really feel like giving my commercial that early in the morning. And what the heck am I doing here? I'm sitting midtown in Manhattan, and it's like 6:45 in the morning. So I just said, hey, 1031 Rob, you guys all know what I do. And then that was it. I sat down. But then people started calling me that. So it started to take on a life of its own, and I just ran with it. And then, like, when people started putting me in their phone, this 1031 Rob, and they're like, yeah, I have no idea what your last name is. I'm like, I'm kind of onto something, I'm
You're
kind of
kind of okay with that.
like it has a stickiness. And then to take it one step further, it's like people didn't even know what the heck it is. Like, if you're in the real estate world, you know what that is. But if you're like not in the real estate world at all, you don't know what those numbers are. Like, I've been called 1031 Rob thinking I'm in radio or something. I'm like, whatever you think it is, I just want you to attach those four numbers to me. And that sort of lent itself to building that brand and like betting everything on it. So when you asked me what my best investment was, it was betting on myself, Stu. It was letting all that head trash go. And the attachment to other outfits that I need, their business cards, their website, their handling, they have more leads than they could possibly handle, letting that live up here too long. Finally breaking out of that, betting everything on the brand at the same time being a dad, all this splashing together and just never looking back, just
Mm.
running with it.
It's so good, man. Burn the ships. I love it. What about the worst investment? What's the worst investment you've ever made?
Well, I would say it sort of ties into what I just said is, as I kind of started in this space, I was attached to other outfits that allowed me to do this. As I simultaneously trained, got used to the space, nuances and things. So you can say, look, there's a price to be paid for any kind of education, right? If I go to a
Right.
university or I want to get a degree online, I got to pay for that. So with these affiliations, I certainly paid for it. I gave away the lion's share of my efforts. I learned at the same time, but it was mostly due to head trash. It was, again, like I said, believing that, Rob, you're not smart enough to do it on your own. You got to be attached to the it team, like the ones that really know what they're doing, who have like the really awesome website or like more leads than they can handle, like all that stuff I mentioned before, because I can't possibly do it on my own. So I let that live in my head for a very long time. Again, from
Mm.
2012 when I found it, which makes sense because I just came across the specialty to begin with. I barely knew what it was. But then to 2018, 2018 really the tipping point where I said, all right, I don't BS people. I'm very direct. People expect that from me. Again, that military background, living by an honor code personally and professionally. People expect that from me. And I said, you know what? I don't make stuff up. If I don't know something, I tell investors that I'm like, I will leverage my resources to get it for you. But if I don't know it, I'm not going to just make it up. And I said, you know what? I've been doing this long enough. Since 2018. I said, I've been doing this long enough where I know how to leverage my resources. I should bet everything on this brand and just run with it. So to answer your question, the worst investment was investing in that head trash, letting it live there for that
Mm.
long. It didn't need to be that long. But hey, you make your peace with it, you grow, and look, everything has its place and time. And I'm not there now. That's the important thing.
That's great, man. That's good. That's good information, man. That's good for people to hear that. Um, if you had to go back and give advice to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
20-year-old self. Well, that would kind of correlate with the apocalypse coming down on me and losing the dream of aviation.
Yeah.
It would just be basically like, dude, it's gonna be okay. Like, put your trust in God and you
Mm.
have a good head on your shoulders and just like don't stop. Just keep charging forward, march ahead and everything will kind of figure itself out. As much as I didn't want to hear it at that time. And if I can go back to my 20-year-old self and say that, I'd probably look up at my older self and be like, what the heck are you talking about? Um, didn't want to hear it, but that's definitely what I would say. Like, everything's going to work out. You're going to have a beautiful family. You're going to run your own business. You're going to be respected as an expert in that space, and everything will work out in a way that you can't even imagine. So you don't see that stuff coming. So if my older self could go say that to my younger self, I don't think I'd get through. I don't think I'm that effective as a communicator, particularly to my younger self. But that's what I would say.
That's good, man. Keep going. Get through it. That's good. All right, last question for you. As a part of, as a member of the community, Military Investor Network, and to those that are going to watch this, like what would you say to them? What would you ask of them? What do you need in your business and in your life right now?
Yeah, my ask would basically be, um, what am I trying to do? What do I do with these 1031 products? Essentially, I try to find the investors that are looking to retire from their real estate. I say that's really my specialty. I help people retire from their real estate because these products that I offer, they satisfy the 1031. They get you in quickly, easily, start to pay you fast, and they spin off monthly income for no headaches. So I'm looking for people that are looking to offload their investment properties, do a 1031, but aren't particularly looking to be landlords anymore. We just had an election yesterday. Mamdani won as our mayor. Who's not particularly landlord friendly, so that's going to affect their NOI potentially. Um, Anybody who's really just, whether they are just tired and looking to divest themselves of these investment properties, or because the legislature is not in their favor and it's frustrating, they can't collect enough in rent or can't get the tenants out, whatever the case may be. If they're looking to sell an investment property, whether that be a multifamily building or a warehouse, I'm looking to get at those people because I essentially network mostly with investment sales brokers and CPAs and real estate attorneys, the people at that advisory board I was talking about before, because they touch these transactions. They typically hear from these end users that are selling, doing a 1031, and then maybe looking for some options. So I like to align myself in that equation because, as I said, I can often bring another option that's not being discussed. My specialty, what I do, this structure, this product, it was created in 2004. We're in 2025 now. The vast majority of people do not know it's an option. So
Mm.
it's tremendously empowering. So that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to help people retire from their real estate. If anybody is looking to sell their investment property and thinking about a 1031, I should probably talk to them. And if the Military Investor Network can help me in that capacity, whether it's a referral source or a client directly, I'd be super grateful.
That's cool, man. Yeah, landlord's no joke. Like there's plenty of times where I'm like, this is the worst ever.
Yeah, yeah. As I say, you've heard me say it: tenants, toilets, and trash. Right? If they don't want to deal with that anymore, and they want to trade that for the tennis, tea time, and travel, like the
Yeah.
man looks better than talk to me.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, Rob, I appreciate you. It's been great to just get to know you more, along the last couple months and talking to you on a regular basis. And again, you're offering a ton of value, and I'm glad to call you friend, and I appreciate what you do.
Absolutely, Stu. Hey, anything I can do to better the group, whether that bring in other vets that would lend value, or just help educate people on what I do, or help other people in their business. I mean, that's what we're here for, to help one another out, get the message out there about what we do, support fellow vets, and if you're ever in the New York area, you gotta let me know because we haven't actually met in person yet.
Yeah, man. Ready to hug it out. Cool,
I
brother.
see
Well,
you on
thank you for your
screen
time.
all the time. You maintain an excellent presence on screen. You command a lot of respect, but I think if we meet in person, that'd be a lot of fun.
I'm probably shorter than you think. I'm not very tall.
Yeah, the Zoom never tells you that. That's one thing you
That's
don't get
right.
from the Zoom. That's always surprising in real life. But
All right,
hey, I'm
brother.
sure that would be
Appreciate you.
a lot of fun. So if you and your family, or you solo, or planning to be in the area, definitely let me know.
Sounds good, man. Hey, how do people get in touch with you that aren't a part of Military Investor Network? Where do we send you?
Yeah, super easy. With a nickname like 1031 Rob, I can't hide. So if you Google it, I come right up. My email is info at 1031rob.com. My website, as you can imagine, is 1031rob.com. And if you'd like my digital business card, which has some little video that plays and my socials and stuff like that, that's me, 1031rob.com. MEET, 1031rob.com.
Cool, man. Well, we'll put that in the show notes of this video. And guys and gals, if you need a 1031, you know the guy to hit up. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate
That's
you.
it. I'm your 1031 exchange quarterback. Just remember
Love it.
that.
See ya.
Thanks, dude.